The Islanders have been one of the hottest teams in hockey. Not even a surprise to me on Pageau, what he has been doing for the New York Islanders. One of the best face-off winners in the NHL. That's why Lou Lamoriello made that trade. He gave up a first round and a second round. I think it was a first and a second this year to lead Pageau. And Pageau is going to be a big part of the Islanders moving forward for the next 3 or 4 years. But this team is for real. Barry Trotz is for real. Lou Lamoriello built this team from bottom to the top. Added Varlamov. I thought Varlamov was really a waste in the beginning of the season. I did not like him. I watched him play against the Rangers live. He was terrible. But I guess the 2 months off for the NHL playoffs, it showed Islander fans and the Islanders that they have a veteran goalie is going to help Sorokin really help him groom as the big top goaltender that the Islanders think he's going to be. I know, Mark, you're an Islander fan. What do you think about this New York Islander team? Be honest right now. Do you think that this team has a chance to win Lord Stanley's Cup this year? Be honest.
Yeah, I don't think they have a chance to win the Stanley Cup. I do think, though, that they should get by Philadelphia. My question was always if they could beat Boston or Tampa Bay. So we'll see. I like Tampa Bay matching up better than Boston.
I do.
I don't.
Yeah.
But
I don't like their defense, and I don't believe, as great as their goaltender has been over the years, winning Vezina trophies. He's 26 years old, and he's one of the best goalies in the NHL. I don't trust him. What are you talking about?
Vezina?
The Vezina. Yeah. Vezina. Vezina.
Venza, right? Yeah, the goalie.
Yeah, the goaltender.
Like this first time I've heard it pronounced that way.
Why?
Yeah.
That's how I call
No,
it.
I get it.
Well, I don't have to pronounce it the way you pronounce it, man. I like to pronounce it the way Errol pronounces it. Just like I like to smack Speedy in the back of the head when he makes a mistake on this show.
I think when you mention Pageau, he's a guy that no one really expected him to be what he was, which was...
What?
He made the third line just as capable as the first and second line as far as importance, as far as scoring. And the fourth line, which was pretty much considered the best fourth line in hockey. Now 4 legit lines on the team. Brassard
Pageau was on the third line for Ottawa.
Right, but I think with the Islanders, he really the Islanders' problems all along has been scoring, consistent scoring, and not only
in the playoffs. I think they're third or fourth right now in goal scoring.
Well, not now, yes, because he had a lot to do with them being more consistent. Brassard is another guy that had a lot to do with them being more consistent. That third line being able to score has really created that. He reminds me a lot. I mean, probably most people don't remember this, but when the Islanders were good in the late '70s. They had 78 and 79 where they lost series they should have won, and then they got Butch Goring in 1980. And Goring was that third line type center to come in, a veteran guy who really solidified the team and gave them that presence that really helped them get over the top. And I think Pageau has a lot of those qualities. He scores big goals. He makes big plays. He's all over the ice. He's a terror on the penalty kill, and
he wins faceoffs.
Yeah, and he wins faceoffs, and that is so huge late in the game when you need to win that faceoff to get that shot from the point when you have the puck in your zone. So he does a lot of the little things that I think hockey fans really appreciate, and he's really helped this team more than anyone ever thought he would.
Well, I thought he was a great move by Lou Lamoriello, and really when you watch the playoffs. Defense wins championship. Pageau is a very good defensive offensive player. He has speed. He's got good hands. And you see what he can do in the playoffs when you're in the neutral zone and you can do things defensively to the offensive side of the game. And the Islanders have played very, very good on 5-on-5.
Yeah.
They've been the best team in the NHL playoffs 5-on-5.
By far.
Yeah, so... again, the playoffs have been very, very fun to watch. You're watching the Vegas Knights. Vegas Knights have one more game to knock off Vancouver. Tampa advances. So right now it's just the Islanders and really the Vancouver Canucks and the
whoever wins Stars Avalanche.
Stars is winning. Stars is winning. They're going to the Western Conference Finals. I'm pretty sure about it. Just as much as I'm pretty sure about the Islanders knocking off Philadelphia.
How about that too?
Have fun with more texts from Patrick then.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
They really surprised me. The Stars. They've played incredibly well. I mean, the series still isn't over yet, but I thought the Avalanche, but you said the Avalanche weren't there yet. They're still a little
They're
young.
still young.
Goaltending really struggled.
They're
this
still
series.
young. It has nothing to do with the goaltending. It's just a young team that's trying to figure themselves out. Next year, they're going to be scary good. They're going to be even more scarier next year than they are this year because some of their younger players are going to have a second year playing in the playoffs again. This team is up and coming. I think they're going to be a very dangerous team.
And McKinnon's really bad.
McKinnon's one of the best players in the league. So they have a lot of young superstars, and I think Colorado's a year away from being a Stanley Cup competitive and contender for many, many years to come. But off hockey, I want to get into football, okay? And we have a special guest coming on our show in just a few moments. We will be talking to Louisiana Monroe, outside linebacker, recruit Brett Drillett. But this is not what I really want. I want to get into the NFL. And I had a long conversation with Jeff from Tampa today. And me and him went back and forth about what's going on with this social injustice with the NFL and Colin Kaepernick. He said that it was all because of Donald Trump, why Colin Kaepernick is completely disposed of by the NFL. Now, I don't disagree in a lot of ways what he was saying about what Donald Trump was saying and kind of got Kaepernick thrown out of the NFL. But Colin Kaepernick right now and what he has done and who he is as a person has really changed the way of sports and the way you look and outlook what's going on in the world. Now, he could be the voice of reason moving forward from all this social injustice. I think we should see a lot more with Colin Kaepernick because he was the first to really stand by this and stand for this. And now you have Roger Goodell and a lot of the NFL reps reaching out to Colin Kaepernick's camp and maybe really apologizing for what has happened with Colin Kaepernick's career. I don't think Colin Kaepernick had much of a career left. As far as
he already
I'm
had
concerned.
a bad year, 2 bad years in a row before that.
But
so.
I think that at the time he was still a decent quarterback, and being away from football for 2 years, it absolutely affects you mentally, physically, and everything. And he not getting hit by a player that was 350 pounds or 300 pounds, it's a complete difference when you're playing on a field with a bunch of street, I guess, football players trying to, practice with. So
I remember how much the Niners were in shambles at that time, too. Jim Harbaugh left. All the players hated him. You had all those receivers and tight ends. They lost a lot of their offense all at once. So Kaepernick really didn't have much help to throw to. And, again, they were really rebuilding at that time when Seattle was still very strong and Arizona was very strong all at the same time. And I think they went through 3 coaches in a row or something like that. Jim Tosula for 1 year, Chip Kelly for 1 year, and then all of a sudden now they have Kyle Shanahan. So they've been in shambles up until now because of that. So
one thing I'll say about Kaepernick is when nobody was saying something, he did. And I remember how odd it was when he did. When he took that knee, nobody almost seemed to notice, but it was kind of like a corner story. Then it became this big, huge thing. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how much, it's easy to blame one person or one ideology for why you didn't get back of this or that. I think Kaepernick could have been easily a backup quarterback for somebody in this league the last couple of years. I think this kind of alienated him, made it a little bit worse. I still think that somebody should have been able to give him a shot. I don't think it really would have had that much of an effect. People usually don't care. After the initial breakthrough, people don't really care. They just want to see their team win or lose. As far as the political side to it, the one difference that I think you see a lot of these fans or the blowback that I've heard on social media is whether it's a political movement or whether it's the athletes that really are genuine about it, that really do, that all Black Lives Matter, because it's not just that all lives matter, but all Black Lives Matter, which is how much of the community is really involved here, because you don't hear as much with the rioting and some of the other things that have caused horrors in their community.
Absolutely,
Black owners, Black families, 2-year-olds, infants getting shot because of the effects of some of this looting, which wasn't the cause of all this.
I don't blame Donald Trump for all this. I know a lot of people want to throw Donald Trump under the bus.
I don't think so either.
But I don't blame. I think this has been going on, and I want to get off the politics because that's not what I want to talk about. But me and Jeff had a big conversation about it. Here's another thing that we had a conversation about today. He was speaking about the Jets and and looking at the Jets roster right now, do you think that the Jets have any chance of winning with the schedule that they have? And my answer is yes, I do. I think the Jets are going to have problems in their running back position because even with Le'Veon Bell has not looked good so far in preseason or practice or whatever. There's no preseason practice right now, and that's going to be a huge problem because Le'Veon Bell, who's coming back, he says he's the healthiest he's ever been, and with this refreshing young offensive line we have not seen with the New York Jets that a lot of people think is going to be very athletic and very durable. They have a lot of injuries right now on that front five right now. So also another problem with the Jets that a lot of people looking towards is Jamal Adams. Jamal Adams not being in the roster, not being in that lineup anymore, where everybody thought he was the best player on the Jets. What are they going to do in the middle of the field when what we've been watching, what we've been listening to, as Marcus May has really taken a step forward as a leader to this defense and maybe could transition the safety position for something that we never thought that we had. But again, when you look at the big picture with the New England Patriots, it does scare me right now that the New England Patriots got Cam Newton for nothing. Cam Newton's one of the top 7 quarterbacks in the league when he wasn't injured. He's a scary player. This is a guy that 3 or 4 years ago was the MVP of the league. He was in a Super Bowl about 4 years ago, and he hurt his shoulder, and everybody says, oh, nobody can come back from it. If there's anybody that can come back from this kind of injury, it's Cam Newton. And now you're talking about Leonard Fournette going over there and possibly signing with the Patriots. That's going to be a scary running game when you think about it. And in that division, and when you talk about Buffalo and the Jets and even Miami this year, I think they're going to be a powerhouse offense this year. They're going to run the ball a lot. If the Patriots get Leonard Fournette and then they have Cam Newton who loves to run the ball, this is going to be a completely transfer of offense to defense this year.
They can run the power run system that the Panthers used when Cam Newton was at his best, too, when they had a lot of power running backs on that team, too, with Stewart, with Williams, even when Mike Tolbert was there as a fullback. They could operate that with Fournette, and even Sonny Michel could run with some power, too.
Yeah, but I think the whole point is they're trying to trade Sonny Michel. I mean, there were stories coming out that Sonny Michel was on the trade block. There were two or three teams that were interested. There was one team that almost pulled the trigger with. But it didn't happen.
Wasn't
it fell. I don't know who it was, but it fell. It fell out and it fell off. And now you're talking about Sonny Michel still being part of the team, but now you're hearing stories about Leonard Fournette going to the Patriots or even the Buccaneers. Buccaneers are looking. We were talking about that yesterday. If the Buccaneers get Leonard Fournette, this is the two weaknesses I believe the Buccaneers are going to have problems with is running the ball and their offensive line. I don't want to hear about bringing in Worth because they got one of the best offensive linemen in the first round. This is a completely reconstructed offensive line. This offensive line was the worst offensive. It was them and then the Jets. This was the worst offensive line in football last year, being that their defense was very highly profiled and played very well under Todd Bowles. And Bruce Arians, you knew Bruce Arians was going to throw the ball. There was more yards. Jameis Winston threw more yards than any quarterback in the league last year, but he also threw more interceptions than any quarterback did last year.
Classic Jameis Winston.
And Jameis Winston is now going to be a backup quarterback. So is Marcus Mariota. But when you look at the big picture right now in the AFC East and you go back and forth on some of these teams, I don't know who I would pick that would win this division. This division is going to be a lot more better than people expect it to be. Miami's going to be better this year. I absolutely believe they will. They played very well defensively last year at the end of the season, and this team won a few games at the end of the season, games that they should not have won, especially against the Patriots.
And the Colts, too, when
yes.
They were one of the best teams in the league.
And I think that Buffalo is one of the favorites to come out of the East this year, especially the AFC. And also the New York Jets. You say whatever you want about the Jets. And I'm not sticking up for the Jets, even though I'm a Jet fan. I will be honest with you as a Jet fan. The New York Jets, if they can get off strong in the first 2 games of the season with their schedule as hard as it is, it will give the Jets confidence. What scares me is I don't think they have enough weapons this year for Sam Darnold again. I think the offensive line will hold up and give Sam enough time, but does he have enough playmakers to make the plays in the open field? I don't want to hear about Perriman. We don't know what Denzel Mims is going to be until he comes back. We haven't even seen him on the field. Crowder is a good passing guy, but is a guy that I think is limited. And Herndon, who everybody believes could be a superstar in the league, especially the way him and Sam Darnold had great chemistry when they came into the league together, I still worry that Herndon can't stay on the field. And that is a huge problem. Mark, I'm telling you, I think the Jets are going to be a lot better than people think. I think they're an 8-8, 9-7 team in a good year. I think they could squeak into the playoffs, but there's a couple of things that really, really scare me. I think their secondary is a lot better than anybody thought it was going to be and will be this year. I think their defense is set. I'm not really worried about the defense. It's the offense. It's been the offense. And with Mr. Guru himself, Adam Gase, I don't know if I'm going to trust the facts that Sam Darnold is getting enough tutelage behind the line of scrimmage and calling the audibles at the line of scrimmage from Adam Gase.